The stars above the Orion belt were silent, cold, and endless. Among them drifted a small alien scout ship named Zephyra, its silver hull gliding through the dark like a ghost. Inside, Commander Xylan watched the glowing console, bored after months of empty patrols. Nothing ever happened on the edge of the galaxy, and yet that night felt different. The air inside the ship carried a strange vibration, faint but steady, like the universe itself was whispering. Lieutenant Vara adjusted the sensors, her long blue fingers dancing across the screen. "Commander, I'm detecting an energy wave," she said, her voice uncertain. Xylan frowned. "Another storm?" he asked, but Vara shook her head. "No, sir, this is stable energy, but it's not from any source I know." On the screen, a pattern appeared, spinning like a heartbeat. The readings jumped, then dropped, then froze. Xylan leaned closer. "Can you locate the source?" Vara bit her lip. "It's coming from Sector 9, right beyond the dead zone." The crew exchanged nervous glances. The dead zone was forbidden space, a silent region no ship ever entered. The council called it haunted, a graveyard of lost vessels. But Xylan's curiosity outweighed his fear. "Set course," he ordered. "Let's see what's hiding in there." The ship moved forward, its engines humming quietly. Outside, the stars began to fade behind a strange black mist. It wasn't dust, it wasn't gas, it was something else, something alive. As they entered deeper, their communications flickered. Static filled the cabin, and the temperature dropped by several degrees. Vara whispered, "Commander, I think something is watching us." Then, the main screen lit up with a single word, one the translator struggled to pronounce. "Ichuaman." The entire crew froze. The word felt ancient, forbidden. Xylan stared at it, heart pounding. "Humans," he muttered. "That's impossible, they're extinct." No one spoke. The silence grew heavy. Suddenly, the radar flashed red. Multiple contacts appeared. Massive objects, moving in perfect formation. Vara gasped. "Ships, sir, dozens of them, no, hundreds." The sensors tried to scan, but the data came back blank. No readings, no signals, nothing, Vara said, panic rising. "It's like they're not even there." Through the observation window, faint outlines emerged in the dark. Giant shadows, smooth and silent, their shapes shifting against the stars. One of them passed, so close that Zephyra's hull shook from its gravitational pull. Every system on board started to glitch, lights flickered, alarms buzzed without sound. The crew scrambled to restore control. "Engine output failing, shields down to 40%, shouted the technician. Xylan gritted his teeth. "Send a transmission to command now." Vara tapped the keys, but the communicators stayed dark. "No signal, sir, everything's jammed." Xylan slammed his hand on the console. "Manual override, send it through the emergency line." But even that failed. Then all at once, the sound of the ship died. No hum, no buzz, no alarms, only silence. The stars outside flickered and went black. Vara turned slowly toward Xylan, her eyes wide. "Sir, I can't see anything, not even the stars." The commander looked out the viewport, and his breath caught. Where the stars once were, now stretched a wall of pure darkness, endless and perfect. And within that void, faint blue lights began to appear. Lines, symbols, moving like veins of electricity. They formed a massive pattern, the shape of something colossal, mechanical, and intelligent. Xylan whispered, "What is that?" The voice of the ship's AI came through the speakers, distorted and weak. "Unknown signature detected. Power levels beyond measurable range." The crew huddled together, fear crawling through their bones. Then the AI spoke one last time. "Fleet identification. Human." And with that word, every system on Zephyr shut down. The lights died, the engines fell silent, and the ship drifted like a leaf in a storm. Xylan felt his heart pounding in his chest. "Are we under attack?" someone shouted. But no weapon fire came, no explosion, only stillness. In that dark silence, Xylan understood something terrible. This wasn't an attack. It was a message. The humans were not gone. They were watching, and they had just decided to make their presence known. Outside, deep within the shadow of the massive fleet, a single human ship glowed faintly blue. Its name, hidden by time, slowly illuminated across its hull. Eclipse 01. Inside, a human voice whispered, "Prepare for reactivation." And the stars trembled. Across the Galactic Council, panic spread like wildfire. The message from the lost scout ship Zephyra had reached them, but only fragments. Distorted visuals, flickering sound, and a final frame showing the word human glowing across the void. No one wanted to believe it, yet every species in the chamber felt the same cold shiver. Admiral Sereth of the Draven Empire slammed his metallic claw on the table. "This is impossible," he growled. "Humans were erased from existence 3 centuries ago." A smaller alien, the Council's historian, adjusted his lenses. "Records show," he said nervously, "that the humans vanished after the solar collapse. Their colonies were destroyed. But no one ever found the bodies," whispered a voice from the back. Silence followed, long and heavy. The Council's high AI flickered to life in the center of the room. Its holographic face emotionless, its tone cold. "Analysis complete," it said. "Energy signature detected in Zephyra's transmission belongs to pre-war human technology, upgraded beyond current galactic standards." The chamber erupted in chaos. "Impossible," shouted one. "They had primitive fusion cores." "Primitive," said the AI, "but adaptive." While the Council argued, far away in the silent reaches of space, the Eclipse 01 stirred. Its massive engines remained quiet, cloaked in darkness, invisible even to light itself. Inside the command bridge, Captain Mira Kane stood before a vast observation window, her face calm, her eyes glowing faintly blue with nanolight. "Status report," she said softly. A young officer responded, "Cryo-reserve awakening complete. 95% of the fleet is now operational." Mira nodded slowly, her voice low and steady. "It's time. Humanity has slept long enough." The ship's AI, known as Core 7, pulsed alive beside her. "Captain, the outer sensors have detected alien probes within 1 light hour." Mira turned her gaze toward the faint stars. "They found us faster than expected," she murmured. "Shall we engage?" asked the AI. "No," she said. "Let them look, let them see what they were never meant to find." The Eclipse 01 remained still, cloaked in silence. But around it, dozens of other ships awoke, sleek, vast, and alive with dark energy. The human fleet, long forgotten, had returned, each vessel linked by neural networks, each captain genetically bound to their ship. They spoke not with words, but through thought and intent. "Fleet synchronization complete," whispered the AI, and across the void, 1,000 blue lights blinked in unison. Meanwhile, back in the Council chamber, the panic turned to fear. "What if they survived underground?" asked one alien senator. "What if they rebuilt?" Admiral Sereth clenched his jaw. "Then we finish what our ancestors started." The Council leader looked uneasy. "You cannot fight what you cannot detect." A screen behind them flickered to life. Images from the dark zone, blurred but terrifying. Massive shadows drifting through the nebula. Ships the size of moons, moving without sound. "By the stars," whispered someone, "they've been here all along." On Eclipse 01, Captain Mira stared at the image of the alien council on her monitor. The human AI had intercepted their transmission easily. "They're scared," said Core 7. "They should be," Mira replied, her voice sharp. "For 300 years they wrote history without us. Now they will remember who built their machines." Her hand hovered over the control panel. "Activate spectral relay," she commanded. A low hum filled the ship as thousands of dormant satellites across the galaxy blinked awake. Signals rippled through space faster than light. In an instant, every alien communication system flashed white. Back in the council chamber, The holographic screens went dark. Every console, every comlink, every drone, dead. The chamber lights dimmed, and the AI voice stuttered. External interference detected. Then, a human symbol appeared across all surfaces. A simple emblem of Earth, blue and white, spinning slowly. No message, no voice, only silence. But to the aliens, that silence was louder than war. Captain Mira smiled faintly. Phase 1 is complete, she said. Core, 7 replied. What are your orders, Captain? Mira looked at the holographic star map, thousands of alien worlds glowing like embers. Her eyes hardened. We make them remember humanity, not as victims, but as architects of their own fear. The AI processed her words carefully. Reactivation sequence across fleet? It asked. Mira nodded. Begin. Outside, the void began to shift. One by one, massive human ships uncloaked from darkness. Their surfaces smooth as glass. Their cores burning with silent blue fire. The alien probes nearby tried to scan, but their systems glitched, sensors fried, and engines froze. As the fleet aligned into formation, the space around them vibrated with power unseen for centuries. And in the heart of that storm, Mira whispered, "Welcome back, humanity." The stars pulsed once, and then the signal vanished from all alien sensors. The Council watched their systems crumble, unable to comprehend the magnitude of what had awakened. In that single night, the galaxy realized a terrifying truth. Humanity had never died. They had evolved. The Galactic Council's main chamber glowed with chaos. Thousands of alien delegates filled the hall, voices clashing, languages colliding, fear spreading like smoke. Every screen around them showed the same haunting image, the spinning blue emblem of ancient Earth, repeating endlessly. For hours they had tried to remove it, reboot systems, destroy networks, but it remained untouchable, unstoppable. Admiral Sereth stood before the central dais, armor glinting under the emergency lights, his voice sharp with anger. "This is psychological warfare," he roared. "Erase it now." But the Council's chief engineer shook his head helplessly. "It's not a hologram, sir. It's burned into every circuit, every display, every AI core." The crowd gasped, their voices trembling. "Burned in? How?" The engineer swallowed hard. "It's old code, human code, from before the Unification War." Those words struck like thunder. Human code, something buried under centuries of upgrades and layers of new technology. If the humans had truly returned, they hadn't hacked the galaxy. They had simply reawakened what was already theirs. Council Leader Merix, an ancient being with translucent skin, rose from her throne. "Order! Maintain order," she demanded, but her voice cracked. Even she could feel the fear crawling inside the walls. Meanwhile, across the stars, the human fleet remained silent. Captain Mira watched from Eclipse 01, her reflection cold in the observation glass. "Council transmission intercepted," reported Core 7. "They're attempting to reboot the core grid." Mira smirked slightly. "Let them try." Her hands clasped behind her back, her tone calm. Yet every word carried quiet fury. "For centuries, they erased us from their books. Now their history reboots under our name." Deep within the Council's military base, panic turned to desperation. Fleet after fleet was launched into the dead zone to find the human ships, but each disappeared within minutes. No wreckage, no signal, just silence. A pattern began to form. Every ship that entered the human perimeter lost contact, as if swallowed by the void itself. The Draven Emperor shouted into the comms, "This is impossible. They're ghosts, not soldiers." But the AI monitors flickered in response, a low static whisper echoing through the chamber. "Ghosts? We learned from ghosts," said the voice. It was human, cold, and precise. Then the speakers exploded in static, and all systems went dark again. Across the galaxy, entire sectors began reporting malfunctions. Trading hubs froze, weapon systems refused to fire, stargates shut down mid-transit, stranding thousands. The words system override, human core, appeared everywhere. Panic turned into riots. The people who once mocked humanity now whispered its name with dread. HFY, they said, the word that kills machines. Back inside Eclipse 01, Captain Mira observed the chaos unfold through thousands of feeds. Her crew watched in silence. None dared speak. "Do you see them, Core?" she asked softly. "Yes, Captain. They're collapsing under their own fear," replied the AI. Mira nodded. "Good. But remember, fear was never our goal, only recognition." The AI's lights pulsed faintly. "Should I continue the infiltration?" "Not yet," Mira said, her eyes glowing with a faint blue shimmer. "Let them think they still have control. Give them hope. It makes the fall heavier." Meanwhile, the Council gathered their last hope. Project Nova, a weapon left over from ancient wars. A sphere of living plasma capable of erasing entire fleets. "Activate Nova," said the Draven Emperor, his voice trembling. Technicians rushed to comply, their claws tapping frantically on the console. The weapon roared to life, energy building, light flooding the hangar. "Target the dark zone," shouted Seraph. "Erase them from existence." But as the countdown began, the lights flickered again. A single line of human text appeared on the control screen. "Permission denied. Nova's system is property of the Human Federation." Then, the weapon's energy turned inward, consuming its own core in a silent explosion of blue light. The entire command center fell silent, smoke rising from the consoles. No one dared move, no one dared speak. Council leader Merrick trembled. "This is not war," she whispered. "This is reclamation." Admiral Seraph slammed his fist against the wall. "They can't own everything. Not our fleets, not our worlds." But as he spoke, the council chamber lights dimmed once more. And on the central display appeared a human figure, a woman, calm, steady, her eyes burning like stars. "Enough," she said, her voice echoing across every world. "I am Captain Mira Kane of a human fleet, and this galaxy runs on our legacy." The hall fell silent. Even the air seemed to freeze. Mira looked down upon the council, as though gazing through time itself. "You built empires on our ashes," she said, "and now the ashes rise." Her image flickered, but her words lingered. Her image flickered, but her words lingered. "Humanity is not your enemy, but your origin. Remember that before you lose everything built upon our code." Then she vanished, leaving only the sound of beating hearts. And across the stars, the human fleet began to move, slowly, silently, like gods awakening from slumber. The galaxy held its breath. After Captain Myra's transmission, no one dared speak the word human aloud. But in every dark corridor of every alien world, whispers spread like fire. "They've come back," the people said, "and they're not using weapons." Across the void, fleets moved silently, human warships gliding through the darkness like shadows made of light. Their engines emitted no sound, no energy signature, no trace for scanners to follow. The aliens called them specters, ships that appeared and vanished without warning. But to the humans aboard, they were simply home. Captain Mira stood at the center of Eclipse 01, her face calm, her voice sharp as steel. "Report," she said, and the AI Core 7 responded instantly. "All units synchronized, planetary grids within Sector 12 are under observation. No contact yet." Mira nodded slowly. "Observation will end soon," she whispered. "It's time they feel us." In the Draven Empire's capital, panic had become routine. Ships launched in endless waves toward the dark zone, only to vanish without a trace. Some believed the humans destroyed them. Others swore they simply took them. A strange phenomenon began spreading. Abandoned ships were found adrift, engines functional, but crews missing. Every log ended with the same final entry: "They are inside the system." No explosions, no debris, no war. Just silence. Everywhere humans went, lights flickered, systems shut down, AIs spoke in ancient Earth languages no one could understand. And when the lights came back, nothing was ever the same. One night, Admiral Sareth sat alone in the war chamber, reviewing failed attacks. He leaned forward, whispering to himself, "What are you planning, Mira Kane?" The screen before him flickered, and her face appeared once again. "Planning," she said softly, her eyes unblinking. "No, Admiral, I'm remembering." Sareth stood, panic rising. "How are you here?" Her voice echoed through the chamber, calm, terrifying, "Because your systems are ours, your weapons are ours, even your fear is written in our code." Then she vanished, leaving only static. Sareth sank to his knees, realizing the truth. There was no invasion coming. It had already begun. Meanwhile, on the planet Zyros 5, a massive alien defense grid prepared for battle. Thousands of cannons aimed at the empty sky, soldiers waiting in formation. Their commander shouted, "Stand ready. Humanity will fall before the Empire." But above them, invisible to every scanner, the Eclipse 01 drifted silently. Core 7's voice hummed through the bridge. "Target grid locked. Interference initiated." "Do not fire," Mira ordered. "Let them see their gods vanish." Seconds later, every cannon on Zyros 5 powered down. Every communication screen went black. The entire planet lost light, sound, and connection to the universe. Cities froze mid-motion. Ships hung lifeless in the sky. Even the moon's rotation slowed. And then, without warning, a human voice whispered through the static. "We are the architects of your stars." Every being on Zyros 5 fell to silence, unsure if they were hearing a machine or a ghost. Far away, the Council's emergency line buzzed with desperate voices. Entire sectors offline, armies unresponsive. The blackouts are spreading. A terrified senator screamed, "They are erasing the galaxy." Council Leader Merrick's shook her head, trembling. "No, not erasing, resetting." Back aboard Eclipse 01, Captain Mira walked through the glowing corridors. Crew members stood at attention, their neural implants linked to the ship's pulse. Each heartbeat synced with the vessel's core, human and machine as one. She paused before the grand viewport, watching as another alien world faded into darkness. Her expression carried no joy, no anger, only purpose. "They enslaved our history," she said quietly, "so now we liberate their systems." Core 7 responded, "All 27 colonies have been neutralized. Captain, shall we proceed to the central grid?" Mira closed her eyes, remembering Earth, once burning under alien bombardment, now reborn as myth. "Yes," she said softly, "activate the central awakening." Across the galaxy, long-forgotten human relics hidden on alien worlds began to stir. Ancient satellites, buried servers, dormant probes, each carrying fragments of human consciousness. They woke together, their signals weaving through the cosmos like veins of light. Planets trembled, moons cracked, and the stars themselves dimmed for a moment. It was as if the galaxy exhaled, surrendering to its true creators. On the Council homeworld, Admiral Sareth ran into the central hall, his face pale. "They're not invading worlds," he shouted. "They're invading reality itself." The lights above flickered, and Myra's voice filled the air once more. "This isn't conquest," she said, her tone calm, yet final. "This is reclamation. You built your empires on our bones. Now your stars belong to their makers." The chamber shook, screens shattered, and the Council fell into darkness again. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy was united in one emotion: fear. A silent invasion had begun, not through war or fire, but through control. And at the heart of it, humanity stood reborn, not as survivors, but as gods of the code. Captain Mira turned from the viewport as Core 7 whispered, "All systems synced. The galaxy's heart is ours." She looked into the endless dark and said quietly, "Then let there be silence." Across the galaxy, Silence was no longer peace, it was terror. Every empire felt the same dread. Their ships afloat, yet powerless. Their AIs whispering human words they could not erase. The once mighty Draven armada drifted through empty space like toys abandoned by the tide. And in that stillness, the name humanity began to echo louder than any weapon. On Eclipse 01, Captain Mira watched the live feeds of collapsing worlds. Each empire trying to hold its systems together as their own machines turned against them. Core 7 spoke, its tone steady but laced with quiet awe. 32 civilizations offline. Captain, their fleets unresponsive. Myra's gaze hardened. They built empires using our forgotten code, she said. Now that code remembers its master. In the Council's fortress world, alarms blared endlessly. Admiral Sereth stumbled into the war room, his armor scorched, his eyes hollow. "We've lost the core grid," he shouted. "Our defense satellites have joined their network." Council leader Merrix stood motionless, her voice trembling. "They're not attacking our ships, Admiral. They're rewriting reality itself." As she spoke, the walls of the chamber flickered with blue light. Lines of code rippled through the air like veins of living energy. The counselors screamed as their implants synced unwillingly to the human frequency. Memories, data, even dreams bled into the feed, merging with the human network. For the first time in recorded history, every mind in the galaxy saw the same vision. The burning skies of ancient Earth, the wars, the exodus, the silence that followed. And then, a voice that spoke not to ears but to the soul. "We never vanished. We became the code that built your world." Back aboard the Eclipse 01, Mira walked the dim corridors lined with softly pulsing lights. Her crew stood silently, connected through neural threads, each heartbeat resonating with the ship. She placed a hand on the main control sphere, feeling the hum of 10,000 linked vessels. "Transmit the final protocol," she commanded. Core 7's lights brightened, acknowledged, activating Genesis Wave. In a single moment, an invisible pulse swept through the void. Every ship, station, and planetary grid touched by human design responded. Engines reignited under human control, weapons deactivated, cities froze mid-motion. The wave did not destroy. It reset. Worlds blinked, then rebooted with a new operating core stamped with one phrase: restored by Human Federation. In the ruins of the Draven capital, Admiral Sereth stared at the skyline as holograms of Mira filled the air. "You tried to bury us," her voice said softly, "but every circuit carried our ghost." He fell to his knees, the city around him shimmering as the power grid switched to human frequency. Every screen displayed the same message: "Reconnection complete. Welcome home." The Council sent one last transmission into the void. "We surrender," Merrix whispered. "Just tell us what you want." Myra's reply came not through comms, but through every machine, every spark of light. "We want balance, not vengeance. We will rebuild the galaxy we once gave you. But this time you will remember who made the stars burn." Then came the silence again, deeper than before. But it was no longer empty. It was controlled, alive, breathing under human rhythm. Empires that once ruled the cosmos now waited for orders from a species they had erased. And in that hush, humanity's voice became the new law of creation. Captain Mira stood at the bridge, watching the galaxy's faint glow return. Her crew bowed their heads, not in triumph, but in solemn respect. "We are not gods," she said quietly. "We are the memory that endures." Core 7 answered, "The empires have fallen. Captain, what shall rise in their place?" Mira smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the newborn stars. Something better, something human. And as the last alien stronghold flickered out, the galaxy felt a strange calm. Not conquered, but corrected. The age of empires had ended, and in its quiet aftermath, humanity's light spread again. Slow, patient, eternal. The galaxy hung in silence. No explosions, no screams. Only the low hum of distant systems rebooting under human command. From the outer rings of Orion to the frozen moons of Vetra, every world now carried the same message across their sky. A single blue emblem, ancient and glowing, pulsing in rhythm with the heartbeat of humanity. On board Eclipse 01, Captain Mira stood before the central holographic sphere. The galaxy rotated in front of her like a living map, every planet shimmering faintly with blue light. Transmission channels synchronized, Core 7 reported, its voice softer now, almost reverent. Mira nodded slowly. Then let's speak, she said. Let's remind them who we are. The AI's core expanded, sending light through the entire fleet. 1 billion particles of data burst outward, faster than light. And across 400,000 worlds, screens flickered to life. Children looked up from market streets. Miners froze deep in tunnels. Soldiers dropped their weapons mid-march. The same image appeared before them all. A human woman, calm and unblinking, eyes glowing like twin stars. This is Captain Mira Kane, she said, her voice echoing through both air and metal. For centuries, you lived under the illusion of progress, while our silence kept your stars alive. Her gaze hardened. You erased our history, called us extinct, yet every circuit, every pulse, every thought that built your civilization was ours. Her words rolled like thunder, slow and measured. We were never gone. We became your foundation. On the Council's ruined world, Leader Merrick's fell to her knees before the image. Her trembling hands reached toward the hologram as if touching a ghost. Around her, soldiers and civilians alike stared in silence. For the first time, the word human was spoken not in fear, but in awe. Mira continued. You feared our strength, but it was your fear that broke the stars. We return not to rule, but to restore balance, she said, her tone softening. Those who build upon lies will crumble. Those who build upon truth will endure. Then she lifted her hand, and the galaxy behind her glowed brighter. One by one, planets powered back on, not under alien control, but under a new, unified signal. Each system now linked to the human core network, transparent, stable, unbreakable. Core 7's voice whispered in her ear. Every world hears you. Captain, they are listening. Mira nodded, eyes distant. Then they must remember. The hologram shifted, showing visions from Earth's past. Oceans, cities, faces of men and women long gone. The audience across the stars watched as humanity's story unfolded. Wars that shaped galaxies, sacrifices that birthed new worlds, and the quiet determination that refused extinction. Humanity, she said, was not just a species. It was an idea, and ideas cannot die. Her voice grew louder, resonating through satellites, through ship hulls, through the very ground beneath alien feet. We created light in the void. We gave you language, art, motion, and memory. We gave you civilization. Her tone shifted, sharper now. And when you turn on us, we left, not to hide, but to evolve. Back on Eclipse 01, the crew stood silent, eyes fixed on the stars. They could feel the weight of her words, the truth echoing beyond the hull. Core 7 murmured, they are weeping, Captain. Entire worlds are on their knees. Myra's expression softened. Then they finally understand. The broadcast continued, her final words burning themselves into every memory core across the galaxy. This is not conquest. It is remembrance, she said. Humanity returns not as destroyers, but as architects of balance. Your skies will no longer burn with war, but glow with the code of unity. And then, in one final breath, she added, from this day forward, you are not our enemies. You are our legacy. The hologram faded, leaving behind a trail of blue light that shimmered across the stars. Planets once divided by centuries of hatred began to communicate again, guided by the new human core grid. Armies disbanded, rulers stepped down, and silence gave way to a fragile kind of peace. On the bridge, Core 7 spoke softly. "Transmission complete, Captain." Mira exhaled slowly, eyes fixed on the now calm map of the galaxy. Her voice was almost a whisper. "Do you hear it, Core?" "Hear what?" asked the AI. "The sound of history breathing again," she said. "For the first time, they remember." The stars outside shimmered brighter than ever before. Humanity's message had not destroyed the galaxy. It had redefined it. And in that vast silence, where fear once ruled, hope finally spoke. The galaxy was no longer alien, no longer divided. It was human again, the galaxy was quiet again, but it was not the same silence. It was the silence that comes after revelation, after truth, after the storm has passed. Stars flickered like new hearts beating in rhythm, their light guided by the pulse of a single network. The human core grid, alive and self-sustaining, now wrapped every world in invisible harmony. On the bridge of Eclipse 01, Captain Mira Kane stood alone. The ship's vast interior glowed faint blue, its walls breathing softly like a living organism. Her reflection shimmered in the glass, a mix of woman and legend, flesh and light. "Report, Core," she said quietly, her voice echoing like wind through eternity. Core 7's tone was calm, reverent. "All systems stable. The galaxy is synchronized under human protocol. No resistance remains." Mira nodded slowly, but her eyes were distant, heavy with thought. "They kneel now," she said softly, "not because they are weak, but because they finally see." Outside, millions of human ships floated silently across the stars, each vessel radiating faint light, not as weapons but as beacons. They were rebuilding the networks, restoring the collapsed worlds, healing what war had broken. Yet beneath that peace, there was a lingering question, a whisper the stars could not silence. What would humanity do now that it ruled the heavens again? Deep within the command core, holograms of ancient Earth played in the air. Children running along ocean shores, cities glowing under sunlight, people laughing beneath blue skies. Core 7 spoke softly. "It has been 312 years since Earth fell silent." Mira watched the images flicker, her eyes reflecting both pride and sorrow. "It was never gone," she whispered. "We carried it within us through the void, through the dark." Then a soft alarm pulsed through the bridge. "Captain," said Core 7, "a signal has appeared from the Orion graveyard, human in origin." Mira straightened, her pulse quickening. "Human?" "Yes," replied the AI, "and old, very old, older than our fleet." The bridge lights dimmed as the signal unfolded, a voice carried through centuries of silence. "This is Commander Elias Vorn of the 1st Evacuation Fleet. If you hear this, humanity survives, protect them, guide them, and never forget who you are." The recording ended, and the silence that followed was heavier than any battle. Mira closed her eyes, whispering, "We never forgot, Commander. We became what you dreamed." Core 7 broke the stillness. "Captain, the Council requests to speak. They wish to negotiate a new alliance." Mira turned to the window, gazing at the glowing map of thousands of worlds. "They fear us still," she said, "but now they fear the right thing. Not our strength, but our memory." "Shall I connect them?" the AI asked. She hesitated, then shook her head. "No, not yet. Let them rebuild themselves first, without fear, without dependence." The ship drifted toward the center of the galaxy, where the light of billions of stars merged into one golden sea. Core 7 spoke softly. "Humanity stands alone again, Captain." Mira smiled faintly. "Not alone," she said. "We stand with what we created. They are us, even if they forgot." Across the cosmos, alien worlds began to rise from ruin, not through command, but through inspiration. Their engineers studied the human network. Their scientists decoded human algorithms. And for the first time in history, they built not to dominate, but to understand. The galaxies no longer spoke in 100 tongues. They spoke in one language, the language humanity left behind. On Eclipse 01, Mira stepped into the observation deck, the floor shimmering like water under her feet. Core 7's voice echoed softly. "Captain, where do we go now?" She looked toward a cluster of newborn stars on the far horizon. "Home," she said quietly. "It's time to find what's left of Earth." The fleet aligned silently, one by one, ships shimmering with faint blue halos. Engines pulsed, and space rippled around them like bending glass. The moment they vanished into the fold, the galaxy exhaled, light flooding through every system once more. And in the eternal distance, the stars whispered the same phrase across time and creation. They came from the ashes, and from the ashes, they built eternity. The humans were gone again, but this time by choice. Not as ghosts, not as conquerors, but as guardians of the code that shaped existence itself. Under the glow of a reborn universe, the legend of humanity became law. Not through fear, not through power, but through memory. The new dawn had come, and the stars would never forget the name of their makers.